What's going on, everybody? UFC is back this weekend. We got Lewis versus Teixeira in the main event, a heavyweight bout. And you know what we're doing here. We're breaking down the fight, starting from the bottom to the top. Let's jump right into it. All right, so first fight of the night, we got Fatima Klein versus Melissa Martinez. Fatima Klein coming in at a minus 1,200 favorite. That's pretty insane. And Melissa Martinez a plus 750. Both fighters are coming off a 1-1 record. Both their last fights are wins, but they both are 1-1 in their last two. Martinez won by unanimous decision. Fatima won by knockout in her last fight. I'm pretty sure that's what they're going, basing the odds off of the 1,200, is because she probably got a knockout in her last fight. But I don't think the fight is going to be that far in odds. I think it's going to be a lot closer than we think. A lot of the times early on in the prelims, when you get odds like this, sometimes they're stinker odds. Sometimes they're not really what they think they are. Sometimes they don't look like what they are. You know, the fight goes one way or the other, and sometimes, a lot of the times, when someone is this much of a favorite, they lose, especially early on in the prelim. So I'm not super familiar with either of their games, but I would say it probably wouldn't be a bad bet putting Melissa Martinez on a parlay, because plus 750, and they're both 1-1 in their last two. That's not bad. But Fatima Klein, she does have a sizable advantage on her. She's got 4 inches on her. She's probably got way longer reach than her. So if she could just keep distance, keep her on her jab, don't let her get on your legs, I think she can win the fight. Next up, we got Mitch Ramirez versus Mike Davis. Another crazy odds right here. Mike Davis is pretty good. I've seen him fight before. Mitch Ramirez, I am also unfamiliar with his game. Mike Davis is 11-3. Mitch Ramirez is 8-2. Both really good records. Both coming off of a loss. Let's see. Mitch Ramirez lost to Moises. What's his name? Thiago Moises knocked him out in the third round, right at the beginning of the round. That was his first fight in the UFC. And then Mike Davis, his last fight was against Zion. That dude's pretty good. And he lost by decision to that guy. And then he beat Levy in a submission. And then he beat then he beat Borshev in a 3-round decision, which is good, because Borshev has really good boxing, really good kickboxing. And then he was on a pretty good win streak before that. I think it looks like his first fight was in 2019, and he lost to Gilbert Burns. And then he beat Gifford, and then he beat Jones, then he beat Borshev. Listen, he's a big favorite. I think the fight's going to be a little bit better, because we haven't really seen a lot of Mitch Ramirez. He's only had one fight in the UFC, and it was against Thiago Moises, who's really good. So I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than what the odds say, but I do think Mike Davis pulls out the dub. He's fought a lot more better people. He's been in the UFC since 2019. How old is Mike Davis? That's going to be kind of an important thing to kind of look at. It doesn't really say right here. Let's see if we can find that out. How old is Mr. Mike Davis? So after some extensive research, Mike Davis is 32, which is still young. I'm assuming Mitch Ramirez is either around the same age or younger than that. But yeah, so Mike Davis still young, still ready, still in there. He's fought really good people. If you guys hear a lisp or me talking a little bit more weird, it's because I bit the fuck out of my tongue during training the other day. Lost my mouth guard. That was awesome. So I've been grappling without a mouthpiece. But anyway, I'm gonna go Mike Davis for this one. For sure, that's my for sure lock. Mike Davis probably by decision, maybe submission. Mike Davis is really good. He's fought really good strikers, and he's taken a lot of really high-level guys the distance, even if he loses, right? So, yeah, I'm going Mike Davis on this one. Next up, we got a sleeper fight right here. Kennedy Njoku. I never know how to say this dude's last name. And then we got Walter Walker. I'm going to go Kennedy. I think he's got a little bit more experience than Walker. He's fought a lot of really good guys. He used to fight at 205. He's fought some really high-level people. He's fought St. Preux. He's fought Barnett, who was pretty good, who's pretty game in heavyweight, beat him. He lost to Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby got knocked out. He beat Clark. I don't really know who Clark is. He beat Kudaleba, knocked Kudaleba out. That's, something you could really stand behind right there. He's been knocked out before. He's knocked people out before. He's coming on a 2-fight win streak. He lost a split decision to OSP. That's not really great last year because OSP is not the greatest of fighters. Lost a split decision to him. Not the greatest of fighters anymore, I should say. And then we got Walker. Let's see what his past couple fights are. He's on a 3-fight win streak, actually. He beat, looks like he beat Junior Tafa. And then he lost, he lost to Brzezinski. So he lost to the guy last year that Kennedy beat. And so that's pretty big. And he submitted Dontel Mays, which isn't something to really, hoot and holler about. But he's only had 3 fights in the UFC. I think Kennedy gets the job done. I think he's just a little bit more experienced, probably a little bit better everywhere on the feet, on the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if Kennedy comes out with either a knockout or a decision victory against Walker. Next up, we got Eduardo Mora versus Lauren Murphy. I think straight up Mora is just going to tear this girl up. Lauren Murphy is just past her prime. I think she's done. She's been in the UFC for a long time. She's coming off of a loss. And, anyone that's coming up, the girl she's fighting is 11-1, right? How many fights does she have in the UFC? She looks familiar. She's had 1, 2, 3 fights in the UFC. She's lost to Gomes. I remember that fight. She beat the shit out of Ruiz. I remember that fight. And then she won a unanimous decision against Macedo. Or Machedo, whatever that is. I think she's going to win. She is, I think she's just got the power of youth behind her in this fight. Lauren Murphy's definitely got the experience, but I think she's past her prime. I think she's old. And yeah, I think I got Mora probably by decision, maybe submission, maybe. Lauren's pretty good on the ground. I could see either a decision or TKO. Next up, another sleeper fight. This is going to be a good one. Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani. Now, Jake Matthews is a very slept-on underdog right here. He's only plus 120, and that's not bad. Chidi is good, but I think Jake has fought higher-level people. I think he's fought high-level people his entire career. I think he's coming in. I think he's on a win. Yeah, they both have won their last fights. Jake beat Prado, he beat Rowe, and then he went to a decision against Morales, which is good because Morales has been tearing dudes up, knocking dudes out. Chidi Njokuani, he beat in his last fight Dos Santos, and then he beat Gooden, and then he beat McKee. So he's on a 3-fight win streak. He's been looking good lately with the striking, but then he lost to Olazechik, and then he lost to Durave, and then he lost to Rodriguez. So he came in with a little bit of a skid, 3-fight losing streak. He got knocked out twice in that, and then he won a split decision, and then a decision over Gooden, and then he TKO'd Dos Santos. So he's been looking good. This is going to be a very close fight. I want to say Njokuani is a little bit cleaner on the feet, so Jake Matthews is going to have to bring out all the weapons. He's going to have to look good on the feet, get him up against the cage. Jake Matthews has got good striking, but I think he's a better overall martial artist than Njokuani, so I think he needs to get Njokuani up against the cage. He needs to wrestle him a little bit, get Njokuani really tired, get his arms gassed so that the striking doesn't come off as precise. And wear and tear him, make him hold your weight, take him down, maybe submit him. I can see Jake Matthews submitting Njokuani if he could get him to the ground and get into dominant position. So I'm going to go Jake Matthews, just overall MMA aficionado working Chidi Njokuani, but I could see if the takedowns and him getting him to the cage, if that doesn't work, I can see Chidi Njokuani piecing him up for 3 rounds. I don't think he's going to knock out Jake Matthews, but I do see him piecing him up for 3 rounds, just putting on a striking clinic. But also, we could see a very good striking match the whole 3 rounds, and it might be a really close fight because Jake Matthews is no slump on the feet either. Like Njokuani, he could either steamroll him with a really good, precise, just point fighting, just picking them apart, or it could be really close because Jake Matthews is good on the feet. Next up, we got Max Griffin and Chris Curtis. Now, this is the featured prelim of the night. I'm going to go Chris Curtis. He's the favorite, minus 300. He's fought, in my opinion, the way better fighters recently. He's had really good fights. Max Griffin, he either wins by decision or he loses by decision, and he's lost to some really, I wouldn't want to say bad fighters, he's lost to competition where I think he should have won, right? Like his last fight, he got submitted by Michael Chiesa in December, right? And Michael Chiesa, he's been fighting nobody recently. And then he won a split decision against Wells, which is good. Lost a unanimous decision against Morales, which is also good because Morales has been steamrolling people. But then look, he won a split decision against Tim Means, and then he lost a split decision against Neil Magny, and then he won a unanimous decision against Carlos Condit way back in the day, like 4 years ago. And then, yeah, like anything before that is kind of just like we don't really even need to look at because he's a totally different fighter now. But in his most recent fights, like he's coming off a submission loss against Chiesa, and if you ask me, I think Chris Curtis beats Chiesa, so I'm gonna go Chris Curtis because look at his last fight. These are just two totally different records, two totally different fighting guys that are fighting. He's coming off of 2 losses, but he lost to Roman Kopylov, and then he lost to Brendan Allen, right? 2 really high level guys in the division. Kopylov being the brighter star in that division. I think he could beat Brendan Allen, and then. He beat Baralt, who just gave Bruno Silva, broke his whole skull. And then he's beaten Kelvin Gastelum and Buckley. But that was, 3-4 years ago. But I do think if Curtis comes in with his head on right and he's in shape and he's looking to, push the pace and just get in Griffin's face and show off his really good boxing that he has, I do think he beats Max Griffin all 3 rounds. I think he could stop him. Yeah, they both really need a win, right? Max was finishing his last fight. Chris Curtis was kind of, styled on a little bit in his last fight against Kopylov. It was just hard for him to, really pull the trigger, find the distance, find the man where he's at. Kopylov's really tricky on the feet, but that's not what Max is going to be. He's going to be in front of you more. He's going to be more, traditional with his striking, more old school. So I think Chris can really show some of his really good boxing that he has. So I'm going Chris Curtis, either by decision or knockout. Next up, to start off the main card, we got a really good light heavyweight fight, Junior Tafa versus Tuco Tacos. Okay, I think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't really know who to pick here because, like, the Tafa brothers are just all bang, no talk. You know what I mean? There's no pretty sentences. They just go for the exclamation point, if you get what I'm trying to say. There's no commas, there's no apostrophes in their fighting style. It's just capitalization and exclamation points. They just go for the kill. I'm not sure. I feel like I've seen Tuco Tacos fight before. I don't know why. I have seen him fight. He lost to Sterling because I've seen all of Sterling's fights, and then I've seen this dude Sai fight before. He fought actually in one of the most recent cards earlier this year, maybe one of the 2 or 3 cards prior to this. So Sai's pretty good. Sterling is really good. He lost to submission against Sai and then a unanimous decision against against Sterling. And then Tafa's last fight, he's coming off of a TKO win against Sharaf, and then he lost when he was a heavyweight, looks like, to Walker by submission in round 1, and then De Lima, another heavyweight. So now I think this is he might be making his light heavyweight debut, unless Sharaf is also a light heavyweight. And so, yeah, that might be good for Junior. He's going down to light heavyweight, fighting guys more his size, not getting overwhelmed. Because I do remember Junior being a little bit smaller than Justin. So I'm probably going to go with Junior just because I've seen him fight before. I know his fighting style. Tuco, I don't really know too much of. But this is something like if I'm doing a parlay, I wouldn't put either of these guys on the parlay. I'm going to be skipping this fight for my parlay, right? But in terms of just what I'm seeing so far, I think it's going to be a good fight, and I think Junior is going to have a little bit more experience than Tuco. But, yeah, Tuco, who knows? He could catch Junior on the feet. Junior's been caught before, so we'll see. Next up, we got Vitor Petrino versus Austin Lane. Vitor Petrino should, and I say this, should whoop Austin Lane's ass, right? Austin Lane is kind of just weird everywhere. He doesn't have great striking. He doesn't have great ground game. Vitor's really precise on the feet. Vitor, you got to beat him with being precise, right? Like how Jacoby knocked him out. I don't think Austin Lane is as precise or as dangerous as a striker than anybody Vitor's fought. I think Vitor holds really big striking over Austin Lane. I think he's going to be a lot stronger. He just needs to not let Austin Lane push the pace, which Austin Lane is pretty good at. Once he starts getting in the fight, getting in the mix of things, he's good at pushing the pace, good at making things weird and frustrating his opponent, and then just ended up, making his game plan shine through that by making your opponent really frustrated because he's just kind of weird everywhere. He's not bad anywhere, right? But he's like decently good everywhere. But I think Vitor, he has the power, he has the skill on the feet to knock out Austin Lane, and I do think I see a Vitor Petrino in my Magic Sphere for Saturday. So I'm going Vitor by knockout. That's what we're doing there. Nate Landwehr versus Morgan Charrier. Morgan Charrier is a bad mofo. Nate Landwehr, in all respect, is a bad mofo, right? But this ain't about being a bad mofo. It's about who is the better striker, and it's going to be Morgan. And he's going to put fists in Nate's face, and I think Nate is going to go to sleep. I'm going Morgan by KO. Nate is a type of dude where I'm like, man, I could beat him in a fight. Nate is, listen, and I mean that respectfully, okay? I mean that respectfully, because Nate is a bad mofo, like I said. I say that because he's just not the prettiest fighter. He's not the most skillful fighter. If he wins, it's because he's kind of like the new age Derek Elkins. It's because he's just breaking dudes down throughout the fight. Dudes hit him in the face so many times that they see that he's not going down, so they gas out, and they just don't know what to do, and then he just steamrolls them. That's why he's called Nate the Train, right? I think, right? So I want, like, my heart is saying USA to Nate, but my brain is saying Morgan Charrier by knockout. That dude is bad. He knows how to put his fists on people's face. He's very precise with the striking, and he's fast, and he's explosive. Nate, he doesn't move his head offline. He doesn't have the greatest defense. He walks forward, so I think he's going to be walking into punches. And, yeah, I'm going Morgan Charrier for that fight by knockout. Next up, we got a really good fight. Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia is on a 6-fight win streak, and they're all stoppages, I'm pretty sure. Calvin Kattar, did he win or did he lose? I think, yeah, he lost his last fight to Aljo, right? That was his last fight? No, to Zalal, who's really good. And then he lost to Aljo. And so he's on a 4-fight losing streak. Okay, that is not good. He is very, very desperate for a win. Okay, he needs a win. If he wins, which is going to be tough because Steve Garcia is finding himself, right? If Kattar wins, it's with the boxing, obviously. It's with the striking, but I think his striking is, I think Max took something from him, dude. He hurt him bad a lot that whole fight. Like, when you get in a fight like that and you get pieced up that much in a fight, like, you just lose a little bit of yourself in there. I think that's true. I think Steven Garcia let's look at Steven Garcia's last 6 wins, because they've just all been brutal finishes against really good guys, all right? So, he lost to Misha Tate, right? That's what everyone calls him. Misha Tate by first round KO. Misha Tate's really good. But then he knocked the fuck out of Chase Hooper, another guy that I always say that I could beat in a fight. Chase Hooper just has shitty stand-up, horrible stand-up. If you get outstruck by Chase Hooper, quit now. Just quit your job. You don't belong in the UFC. So then we got Nerda and Garcia. Garcia knocked him out by second round knockout, and then he knocked out Costa, who's really good, in the first minute of round 2, and then he knocked out Dooho Choi, who's really good, and then he's on a crazy knockout streak. He's on a 6-fight KO streak. He's like, I got knocked out. That's never happening to me again. I'm knocking all these dudes out. Nelson, he's pretty good. I think the best fighter he's knocked out is Costa and Dooho Choi. And I guess maybe in recency is Chase Hooper as well, but he hasn't fought since September, right? So it's almost been a year, but that's good. That means he's been developing. That means he's been getting better. You don't need to fight all the time, I know he's been training since then, so I know he's been getting better. It's been a little bit of a while since Kattar fought, but He's been a little bit more active, but he's on a 4-fight losing streak. So he's going into this fight knowing that he needs to do something to win. Maybe he goes in there a little too aggressive, runs into something from Steven. I think, I keep calling him Steven. Steve. I think Calvin just needs to be, if he's going to win this fight, he needs to be more relaxed. He needs to just play his game, right? Don't go in there trying to knock this dude out. Don't try to, get overzealous, try to find a win again, right? Just play your game, play it to a T, you'll find your win. But I do think Steven Garcia is on a fucking hot roll. It's going to be the toughest fight of his life, right? Calvin Kattar's still no joke. Even after 4 losses, he's still really good. He's 23-9. So Steve Garcia just needs to rise above, right? Rise to the occasion. And I think he will. I think it's his time. And I think he's going to beat Calvin Kattar. We could say by knockout, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's by unanimous decision. 30-27, 29-28. I'm giving Steven Garcia. All right, now we got Stephen Thompson versus Gabriel Bonfim. Now, my heart says Stephen Thompson because his striking is and always will be very, very good. But it's his chin, right? His chin is what I'm worried about. I think he's just being more susceptible to being knocked out these days. He did fight Buckley in his last fight and got knocked out. He did get submitted by Rachmanov, but he was looking really good against Rachmanov, and then he beat the shit out of Kevin Holland. Barely lost to Bilal Muhammad, got wrestled. Barely lost to Gilbert Burns, into 2021. Beat the shit out of Neal. So it just all depends on if Bonfim can find Thompson's chin. Because if he could get him to the cage, find his chin, it's going to be a long night for Thompson, or a quick night for Thompson, right? But he did get knocked out by Dalby, and Dalby is not that great of a fighter, and he got knocked out by Dalby, right? And then he beat Lusa by a unanimous decision, and then he beat Chaos Williams by submission, right? So he hasn't really fought anyone at the caliber of Stephen Thompson yet, so this is a really big jump for Gabriel Bonfim. You know what? I'm going to go Stephen Thompson. Part of me says Bonfim, but looking at his record, he hasn't really fought guys that I believe are on Thompson's level or even Buckley's level. And you got to admit, Buckley hits fucking hard, right? And if you look at it, Thompson really hasn't been knocked out by anyone other than him, right? Like, he's only lost to decision and then the submission, right? So he's only been KO'd by Buckley, and that was halfway through the 3rd round, right? And in my opinion, I thought Stephen Thompson was winning the fight. It might have been 1-1 going into that 3rd, if my memory doesn't serve me correctly, but he was looking really good against Buckley, timing that left hand or the right hand, that little pull cross that he really likes to do. So I'm gonna go Stephen Thompson. I think Bonfim doesn't have the same angles or the same slip bangs, or just like, he's not as sweet on the feet as people that Stephen Thompson has fought before, and he's not as sweet on the feet as Thompson. So I'm thinking. And Thompson does have a 3-inch reach advantage. So I'm going to go Thompson with this one. Honestly, I'm not afraid to say it. I am going Thompson for this one. I do think he's going to win. Probably by decision, striking him for 3 rounds. Use that front leg, use that right hand, use his jab, use his angles, use his head kicks. And yeah, just show Bonfim something he's never seen before on the feet, because he has gotten knocked out by guys that just aren't as good as Thompson is on the feet, if that makes sense. And then we're at the weirdest heavyweight fight of all time. We got number 9, Derek Lewis. So, all right, Taliesin is ranked. So when this fight was announced, he didn't have a rank. He wasn't ranked at all. Or maybe he was. But I don't think he was, right? Because Lewis was number 9, and then I don't think Teixeira was ranked. Now, Teixeira's 8-0. That's insane. Let's look at his last couple of fights. Who has he fought? He's only fought Justin Tafa. And he knocked him out in 35 seconds. Okay, so this is a big jump for Teixeira. And we're going to see what the fuck is he made out of. Because if he goes in there trying to, prove a point to the UFC and the UFC atmosphere and the fans, that he could go in there and stand and bang with Derek Lewis, that's going to be very dangerous, right? The way you beat Derek Lewis is you just be more technical. You have to be more technical. You can't be drawn into these slugfests. You can't be drawn into close quarter combat. You got to be long. You got to be rangy. You got to be, just make Derek Lewis frustrated, right? I'm going to go Derek Lewis. He's the underdog, which is preposterous to me. Like, I don't understand how you could give somebody the favorite when they have only been in the UFC for one fight against the guy who has the most knockouts in UFC history, who is 2-1 in his last 3, knocked out Lima with a crazy flying kick, right? Lost to a decision against Almeida, where Almeida pretty much just wrestled him the entire time. Beat Nascimento, right? 49 seconds, knockout in round 3. So he still got it. He could still knock people out. He was a little bit on a skid there, but this dude, he comes to fight, and you know what you're going to get with Derek Lewis. And honestly, during the weigh-ins, he looked really good. Like, he looked like he was in shape. I know we said that, in his past, 4 fights after he hurt his back and then fixed his back up. But I think Derek Lewis looks in shape. I think he looks good. Taliesin Teixeira, I think he might get a little too, I'm going to show these guys what I could do. And then he might run into something big that he's never been hit with before. Someone's getting knocked out. The heavyweight main event will not last long. The main event is going to end in a knockout, probably in the first 2 rounds. Okay? So I'm going to go with Derek Lewis if the fight is going to end in a knockout, just because of the experience, right? The experience is really big here. 28-12, bro. This is going to be his, 40th UFC fight? So Teixeira's only got eight fights. 1 fight in the UFC. It's kind of crazy that he's getting the main event. I doubt he's getting paid main event money too. Because if this is his second fight in the UFC, he's probably still on a 10-10, 20-20 kind of contract. No, I mean I would hope he would be getting more money if they're gonna put him in for the main event, unless he might have stepped in short notice. Maybe I don't really remember. I don't know when this fight was announced, but that's the fight card. I'm going Derek Lewis by knockout, and yeah, hopefully it's gonna be a good fight. Honestly, I was thinking to myself, is this the worst UFC fight night, fight card of the year? And looking back at the fights, they're not that bad. We do got some okay fights, but we do got some scraps, some low-key scrappers. Jake Matthews, Chidi Njokuani, Chris Curtis, Max Griffin. Hopefully that's not a sleeper, snoozer of a fight. But Junior Tafa and Tucos should be a good fight. I'm worried about the Vitor and Austin Lane. That could be a really boring fight depending on how that fight goes if Vitor can't land that punch. Nate Landwehr, though, the last 3-4 fights are going to be really good. Nate Landwehr, Morgan Charrier is going to be really good. Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia is going to be really good. Stephen Thompson, Gabriel Botham is really good. Those fights should be really good. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a cool little night of fights. But yeah, I will be seeing you guys on Sunday when we talk about the post-UFC fight night. And what's next for all the fighters. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like it. Subscribe to the channel. Don't miss a video. I will be seeing y'all soon. Peace out.